Vahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. So in one of the previous classes, I had mentioned a great saint Ananda Maima, who was being beaten by her husband. And one day she had enough strength and enough, she was so centered in herself that she said, stop, or enough, or no. And he couldn't hit her. And I was mentioning about how that we can become so deep within our resolve and so clear in our thinking. And so it's not, even though the word is strong, it's a strength that is not aggressive, and it's a strength that's not in any way a push, right? Like usually we'll even even if it's not an aggressive strength, we use strength to achieve things we want, right? Or to be able to change things in our lives. And so there's that sense of force or dynamism, but there can be a strength that is so still that change happens at such a small, profound, subtle level, but its impact is so huge. And so the person had asked me, how do we get this kind of strength? Where when something is happening in our life, we can say no, and change the way in which that other people are engaging with us. And so the first thing here is we do tend to invoke in people different aspects. Like sometimes when we are very fearful, we invoke in other people, they want to tell us what's just happened, which will add to our fear. And so because I have fear in me, I tend to invoke stories of dread from other people. Sometimes I might have a lot of anger in me, and so then I invoke in people that they'll say something or they'll do something so that I can have my, like flare up and yell and shout. And so, yes, we do tend to invoke different things in different people. Some people are more playful, and then they get picked on because they invoke that kind of banter. And then some people will just get in, they get given work because they're the responsible, reliable one. And so we do. We have a way, the way we vibe is the way other people will vibe with us. So I remember I read this. It is the person who wrote that book. All I needed to know, I learned in kindergarten. I forget his name, but he has a great sense of humor in the way he wrote the book. And he makes some really beautiful points. And he said, we all vibrate at a frequency, and then we look for other people that vibrate at that same frequency. And he was talking about himself, and he said he vibrated at, and I don't know how he knew, but of course the mind does vibrate at different frequencies, and don't necessarily have to give them a label, but he said C, frequency C. And then he said what he discovered was that his refrigerator in his house also vibrated at frequency C. And this is why he kept finding himself in front of the refrigerator with the door open. I thought it was, he's an hilarious way of explaining how we tend to get attracted to the frequency we vibrate at. And so even if I meet another person, and they might be generally vibrating at a different frequency, but if they have a tendency to vibrate at C, I'll bring the C out in them. Or if theirs is stronger, they'll bring the D, E, F out in me. But we're going to go about this a little bit differently. When talking about how can my strength be so centered that influence over me is non-existent. So like peer pressure is people having influence over us. And we see that, right? We see it every day with fashion and the way we behave on our phones. Like peer pressure doesn't mean we have to be in physical proximity. There's a lot of peer pressure of how we answer a text message and how we, I remember when somebody quite elderly sent me a WhatsApp message, which I had to scroll down because it was that long. And it started with, "Dear respected Swaminiji, Hari Om, pranams. I hope you are well." And I thought, this is a WhatsApp? This is it's like traditional old way of writing. So we have all these norms and we have pressure to adhere to norms. And then, of course, we have lots of attachments to different people. And then we feel pressure to act as per the attachment to these people. Then we have our own fears and insecurity. And we have a tendency to act based on our fears and insecurities. So how do we get from not acting from all of those and acting just from an incredible point of strength? And so two main things, our quality of mind and what it is that we are doing. Both will impact how strong we are when we are doing it. So the first one is, how much do I mean it? How deep is my conviction when I am saying it? And it can be something as simple as somebody offers me chocolate and I say, no, thank you. And they'll say, have a little bit. Yeah. And sometimes we will. Why? Because either peer pressure or actually we wanted it and we were just waiting for them to ask again. Okay. So then my no wasn't truthful. Was I lying? No, I wasn't lying. I wanted to be able to say no, but the no was not truthful. So when I say it, how much do I mean it? And how much I mean it will depend on my desire, number one, and my belief, number 2. For example, do you want chocolate? And then desire, totally. This, I don't even have to elaborate. It's desire. I want it. So my no is weak because what I'm saying is opposed to my desire. So my desire is strong. What I'm saying is the opposite of what I'm desiring. And so it's not going to be strong because desire is strong. If my desire is very weak and I say no, there is a chance I won't give in. But if desire is strong, even if my no is with every iota of my being, it's not strong. So sometimes a medical condition and I can't have it. And so I say no, and I won't have it. But actually that no is not strong because I want it. So it's not whether I give in to it or not that makes the word powerful. It's whether it's truthful or not. You know, do you want it? And I say, I do want it. I can't have it. And so I say no. Or, you know, whatever, I'm on a diet or it's a fasting day or something. If the desire is there and I am contradicting my own desire, those words we speak are not powerful. Now, the interesting thing that happens in our lives is we have contradicting desires. So when we say something, do we want it? Yes, but we also want the opposite of it. So if I go back to the chocolate example, just because it's a very easy example, but of course life is not so easy, it's far more complex, but once we understand the principle, we can apply it. Do I want to be thin? Yes. Do I want to eat the chocolate? Yes. So, I mean, you don't necessarily get fat from it, right? But like just for purpose of example. So both desires exist in me. So now, no matter what I say, my words are not powerful. Because whichever one I say, it gets contradicted by the other desire. And though so much of what we say, because we have contradicting desires, those words are not powerful. Because we ourselves don't believe them. They're not firmly, strongly rooted. So now chocolate's easy. Let's say me and you have a fight. Do I want you to suffer? Yes. And also, no. I love you dearly. I don't want you to suffer. I want you to love me back. But yes, because you're really irritating me in this moment. So me and you are having a fight. And if you asked me in that moment of time, but don't you love me? And I say, yes. Aha. But in that moment, I'm really annoyed and I want you to suffer. And so my words don't have power. Interesting. It's really, really interesting. And that desire, again, it will depend. Sometimes I love you dearly and I want you to suffer, but the wanting you to suffer is very small desire and my loving you is a greater desire. Sometimes not. Sometimes I don't love you that much. And so the I love you desire is also not so strong. Yeah. Depending on the relationship, depending on how selfish and selfless I am. So, so it gets tricky because we have conflicting desires. And the minute there's a conflict within ourselves, our words don't have power. So the idea here is desire. If I say what I desire, and if everything I'm saying is in adherence to what I desire, those words are strong. So then you'll hear like highly inspirational speeches being done by people about how you can do it and we can succeed and we can overcome. And that's the desire. And then those words are very powerful. Okay. Then the second thing was belief. Yeah. So one is desire, two is belief. What do I believe? If what I am saying contradicts what I believe, my words don't have power. So if I believe, let's say I'm unwell, and I believe I can get healthy, and then somebody says something to that effect, and I say, yes, I'll be fine tomorrow. If I actually believe it to be true, my words have power. If I don't believe it to be true, like let's say I'm feeling so ill today that I can't even conceive feeling better. But I say it because, glass half full, and I want to be optimistic, and we should be grateful for all we have. And then too much spirituality we are getting, so now we cannot be ungrateful and pessimistic. And so I say, I will be fine tomorrow, with the hope that I am asserting what will happen. Do I believe it? No. And so those words no longer have power because I don't believe it. And so am I lying? Please no, I'm not. I'm not lying. I myself am lying to myself. So it's not like I'm lying to you. I haven't figured it out within me. So, you are secondary. And that's why so much of spirituality is about us with ourselves. Like we're lying to ourselves with the hope of improving or with the wanting to or with half-baked knowledge. Okay, so I want to say no to you. Let's do Ananda Mema's example. And it's quite an extreme example. You are about to hit me. And I want to be able to say, no, that's not happening. Do I believe it? Do I believe that me saying no will stop you? If I don't, my no has no power. Because I don't believe it. I'm saying no to you, but I myself don't believe my no. Because I don't think you're going to listen. So then my no is a plea. It's a request. Right? It's a suggestion. And you have every right to either accept the request or deny the request. Yeah? But when it's a no, which is affirmed, you have no choice. So when I say something, do I believe that it can create what I want it to create? And because in spirituality, we know that we cannot change other people, we think I can't change them. But that's not what Ananda Mema did. She didn't change her husband. She changed herself to no longer allow it. And to no longer receive what she did not want to receive. So we don't want it, but we receive it. And we say, no, 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 no. And then it's already there. And then it's like, okay, now it's here now, what to do? And again, food is an easy example to give. If you have been out for, when they feed you at home, Indian auntie style, take. And you're like, no, 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 you're blocking your plate also. And they find a way to put it in. And then you feel like, now what to do? I can't do anything. Now I have to eat it because you can't waste. You don't want them to feel bad. You don't want to make a scene. You don't want to be rude. And so it doesn't work. My no wasn't. I didn't see my no through. So if you've ever had Bhiksha with Swami Mitrananda, you see no work really well. Nobody puts anything on his plate. Mastered the art of just looking that she won't dare put it on his plate. Because you know his no is very serious. There's no conflict in belief, there's no conflict in desire, and he has no problem with you feeling bad. It works. Why do we not see our no through? We have problem in you feeling bad. I don't want you to feel bad. So then the power of my no gone, because I have conflicting desire. I want you to like me. I want to appear to be good or nice or sweet. It's a conflicting desire. I don't want the thing, but I also want you to like me. And I don't believe you're going to actually listen to me. Desire is easier to deal with than belief. What do we believe? I meet so many people. Over the course of my life, I have met so many different people. And even as a psychologist, even before joining the ashram, met so many different people. And probably psychology training did help with this. When people are talking, can hear what they believe. All of us can do it, but of course, when you're a psychologist, you're listening for it so you can guide and problem solve or diagnose or and people will say, I believe things will get better. The statement they're saying is, I believe things will get better. And then they'll talk for the next 10 minutes, and everything they say in the next 10 minutes, they don't believe things are going to get better. We don't necessarily know what we believe. We know what we want to believe. And so there's two things, desire and belief, and we're not even very clear on which one it is. Because sometimes we think we're operating out of belief, but actually we're operating out of desire because I want to believe everything is going to be okay. And so I'm holding on to that saying I believe it, but it's not a belief. Yeah. It's just a desire. Yeah. I believe people are nice. Or do I want people to be nice? It's not always so clear cut. And so this is why, again, we have to be so incredibly honest with ourselves. When we are interacting with each other, really, what's our belief system? I really like this story. It's told by Anthony DeMello. Two kids on summer holiday met at the beach and got along for that short span of time, whatever, a month while they were on summer holiday. They had a great time, where you want to play with other kids and you make new friends. And so he had this marble collection And she had collected so much candy from trick-or-treating that she had this huge bag of, and so they'd play with the marbles, they'll eat the candy. And so it went for one full month. They had a ball, and the month was over and they were going to go home. And because they had enjoyed their time with each other so much, they had decided that they'll swap. He'll take all the candy back home with him, and she'll take the marble collection back home with her. And then, he'll collect his marbles and she'll collect her candies. And so then they'll still get whatever they want to. But this way they had the thing that they had learned from each other. So they run off, and he gets to his suitcase and he takes out the pouch and he thinks, oh, but this particular marble is very, very high status in the collection. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this one back. And she won't know the difference anyway. So he takes out that particular marble and puts it in his suitcase and takes the pouch, and he goes running off. She runs into her house, grabs the pouch, and comes running back. Excited. We're going, but we're going to be friends and whatever. They swap, they say goodbye, they hug, all's well. And he's on the flight back home thinking, I wonder which candy she took out. The whole flight back home, he's got the pouch and he's thinking, I wonder which one she took out. Why is he thinking this? Because that's what he did. She didn't take out anything. She ran, grabbed the pouch, came back. It didn't even occur to her to take out one. She's on her flight having a ball with the marbles, not missing, thinking, I made a great new friend. I got all these marbles. Can buy lots of candy. Who needs the candy? I got the better deal. When we interact in the world, what do we believe? When I'm interacting with you, what do I believe about you? What do I believe about me? And if I'm not saying what I believe, my words don't have that strength. So this is a crucial part of words having strength. And it's, so one is the desire and the belief, and then two is I actually do it. So if I believe something and then I follow through on it, if I desire something, I follow through it on. And so another well-known story is of Mahatma Gandhi. A lady had come to him. The son was diabetic, eating too much sugar, really needed to stop eating sugar. Dadaji, what do they call him? I forgot what they called him. Never mind. Bapu, that's right, of course. Please tell my son to stop eating sugar. And he said, I will. Please bring him back in a month. And she thought, okay, well, he's busy. Can't be too demanding. He's the father of the nation and all of that. So she comes back in a month and he sits the son down and he says, beta, it's really not good for you. Why don't you stop eating sugar? So then she's like, why didn't you just do that when I came last month? And his reply was, I was eating sugar. I can't say it to him when I am eating sugar. And this is huge. This is huge because unless I'm doing it, the words don't have power. I can't say to somebody else, let it go, when I'm holding on. I can't say to somebody else, be brave, when I'm so scared and I'm not willing to see what it is that I am scared of. So when we practice it, our words have power. So let's say someone's giving me food and I don't want it. And I'll say no, and I'll say no. And then if they put it, you're going to think this is horrible of me. I won't eat it. So because I have to make sure my word was true. Or go somewhere or do something, or, the ability to make our words powerful is our ability to make sure they are true. And so our tapas, and tapas doesn't mean we sit in the meditation. Tapas is our ability to see it through. Tapas is regular practice. Tapas is lifting our mind. Tapas is having self-control. Tapas is feeling the burn. I love this definition of tapas the most, because tapaha literally means burning. And today with exercise, we know feeling burn, right? Even my yoga teacher will say, do chair pose and you'll feel a nice burn in your thighs. And I'm like, what's nice about it? It's not nice. But they will say it's a nice burn because you should be feeling the burn. If you're not feeling the burn, you're not doing it well enough. You're slacking. So what's tapas in life? Forget yoga. Yoga is easy to feel burn. When talking to your wife, when talking to your kid, when talking to your boss, feel the burn. What does that mean? It means you don't like what they're saying, but you are willing to see that they have a point. You don't like them, but you're willing to listen. You're willing to contribute. You're willing to help. That's the feeling the burn. Not wanting it to always just be the way I want it to be. That's tapas. Being happy for it to be not the way I want it to be. And, the beautiful thing about tapas is I'm choosing to feel the burn. And if I don't do tapas, then life will choose what I have to deal with. When life chooses, it comes as one really harsh slap across the face. Rather, I choose to do tapas. If I'm choosing to do tapas, life doesn't give so many slaps. When I just want it my way, life will pakka give slaps. And plenty, and really, really tight ones to get our attention. So my words will have strength if I do tapas, right? So there was belief and desire, and this is the ability to see it through. And then the last point here is, and it's linked in with the ability to do tapas. My words will have strength when what it is Dharma. So this is not so much about me. This is about the situation and what's right and wrong. Dharma has so many different meanings. The first is what's right and wrong. But I think a better way of understanding Dharma as we evolve in spirituality, because right and wrong, it's so overused. Okay, so what is Dharma? Let's make sure we all now understand very clearly the depth of Dharma. Dharma is that which holds things together. And so when the scriptures explain or describe Dharma, they say it's Dharma that holds the sun where the sun is and the earth where the earth is. And then we'll say, no, that's gravity. Hello, gravity is Dharma. Gravity is Dharma. Why is gravity Dharma? Because it's keeping things in a way that everyone is benefiting. There's zero conflict between science and spirituality. Zero conflict. Why can't gravity be Dharma? What science can't be Dharma? Of course it can be. It's universal laws. So, what was Dharma? That which holds things together. So the first thing I need to hold together, me. I need to hold myself together. Why? Because I have all these conflicting desires, which are tearing me apart. Very painful to be tearing myself apart with conflicting desires. So we need to clean up our act and have Dharma and be integrated with body, mind, spirit, and have resolve to only do that which holds things together, starting with me. But what will hold me together when what I desire is holding everything else together? What do I mean by that? Family falling apart. What do I desire? To get a greater inheritance. That will help things fall apart. What will hold the family together? That's Dharma. Company that I'm working for. What will hold the company together? That's Dharma. But in my family, in my company, I hold my family together, my company together is not enough. My family has to work well with other families. My company has to work well with other companies. Dharma is more than just me looking after my family and my company. I have to hold all of it together like the sun and the moon and the earth. It's so much deeper than right and wrong. So what am I doing? Is it Dharma? If it's Dharma, we go back to desire. What I want to do is Dharma. We go back to belief. I believe it to be Dharma and therefore it should be done. My words are incredibly powerful. It will move mountains. When Hanumanji carried that mountain from the Himalayas to Sri Lanka, it's so symbolic. It's not the physical mountain he carried. Hanuman moved mountains with his faith, with his discipline, with his devotion. He changed kingdoms. He changed his own kingdom. He changed the kingdom of Lanka. He changed the kingdom of Ayodhya. Right? Till today, Hanumanji changes people's lives. He moves mountains. He gets us to where we need to be. He gets us out of illness, out of heartache, out of any kind of crisis. He's moving the mountains in our lives. Our words can solve problems, bring people together, give comfort. It can move mountains. When it's Dharma. I believe it to be Dharma. I believe it to be possible, and it's what I desire. When what I desire is not Dharma, my words will not have power. I might be able to get what I want. I might be able to bully people and scream and yell and manipulate and get what I want. But those words don't have power. Without Dharma supporting, that depth of strength doesn't come. That strength only comes because Dharma is so strong. It's holding planets together, universes together. And then based on that Dharma that's holding everything together, when I'm in line with that, I'm going to be strong. And when I'm opposed to that, how can I be strong? How can I fight gravity? How can I fight karma? How can I fight love? Because that's what Dharma is. Dharma is love. So, this is not, we even have been doing these talks. People really want to be able to hear the talk and their life has changed. It can happen. I believe it can happen. But me giving the talk doesn't change your life. You change your life. And it has to be by regular tapas and extreme honesty of what is it I want and what is it I believe. And sometimes I want it, but I don't believe it. I want to be strong, but I don't believe I can be strong. I want to be efficient, but I don't believe I can be efficient. And they're not things that they can. Actually, they can. There are things that I myself have overnight changed through the course of my journey. And there's things that have taken me a while. Those tapas had to get really hard before I was like, okay, I'll let go of that. Because desire was strong. So if the change has to be overnight, that desire has to be so strong to change overnight. Yeah. And the belief has to be so firm that I can change overnight. And we can. We actually can. I have, not in all things, but I have. So it is possible. But even to get to the point to change overnight, there was legwork, a life of somewhat discipline. Sure, I eat plenty chocolate cake, sleep in ever so often, get very excited when yoga teacher cancels. I'm not allowed to cancel, but when they cancel, it's awesome. But generally, there's somewhat discipline. Generally, there's willing to serve. Yeah. Remember when I first joined the ashram in Melbourne, Swami said something was going on. I can't remember exactly. And he said, we have to serve all these people. And I looked at it and I said, why? Most of them are irritating. Of course, I was humoring Swamiji, partly. Partly I was really young, but still willing to. Why? Because he said so. Did I really think they need to be served? I'm not so sure. Can't really remember. But he said enough. Did I do one thing right in my life? Yes, I listened. We just have to do a few things right. We don't have to get everything right. I promise you, I didn't do everything right. Lots of flaws. But if he said, I listened. Okay. So many times he would tell me, do something. I really don't want to do that. Wasn't as respectful as we are now. Now I'm a lot more respectful. I didn't know in those days, right? I didn't know how to speak to a Swami. I didn't know how to be. I would literally say, no, Swamiji, I don't feel like doing that. Look at me like, really? You going to decide? And I would be like, oh, I can't decide. Okay, then I'll do that. And possibly somebody else wouldn't, right? Because actually, I don't know why I did. He's grace only. But the fact that I listened saved me. Little bit discipline, little bit surrender. Not even a whole lot, little bit. Just regularly doing tapas, seva, discipline, love. Regularly doing satsang. All that builds up strength, builds up character, so that when I realize what it is that I have to change, because sometimes I don't know I have this belief that's hurting me. I don't sometimes even know I have a desire. Like, how did that desire come in my heart? And how has it been there for so long without me knowing it? And the minute I recognize it, I can change it overnight, but it might take a while to recognize it. So how do we get to the point of Anandamayi Ma looking at her husband with his hand raised and say, no? Because I know it's not Dharma. And so I can say no to it. I also know that there's no bit of me that wants it. And every bit of me believes I can change it. There's no halfway here. Not when a man's got his hand raised. Chocolate cake, maybe there's a halfway, but not when, then there's no halfway. It has to be every bit of me believes I can change, and none of me desires this current scenario. None of me. And you might ask, why would I want to be hit? We strange creatures. We really are strange creatures. We might actually want it for some illogical reason, misinterpreted belief system. It's the journey that we have to make to know that, you know, love is unconditional, and it doesn't have to be earned, it doesn't have to be deserved. We don't necessarily believe that. So do I want to be hit? No, but I may want to be loved, or I may want to be recognized, or I may want to something, I don't know. But it's not necessarily so clear cut. So maybe it's not somebody with their hand raised about to hit me. Maybe it is something like chocolate cake. Great place to practice. And then it can get to a little bit bigger. Somebody asking me to loan them the 5,000 that the government is giving. No. But part of me is thinking, well, it's not my money. Why am I saying no? Then I get to the point where no conflicting desire. Part of me wants the money, part of me wants to be able to give the money. So now what do? I have a conflicting desire. Because it's not really my money, it's just this bonus money. remove the conflict. Either 100% desire to be able to give it away with no regrets whatsoever, or just completely own that I want it. I'll give you 1,000, not the whole 5,000. But if I want both, I want to be able to give it to you, but because I want to be a nice person and but also it's money. Come on, I want to be able to go and spend it also. Then I have conflict. This is where we have to feel the burn. What's the burn? Choose one. I didn't say which one. You choose. But remember, it will only have power if it's Dharma. So if I choose to be selfish, the words won't have power? Nope, it won't. But own it. Completely own, I am selfish. At least within myself, be completely 100% true. And I'm choosing it. That's also tapas. Because it's sat. Then we'll evolve to selflessness. But first, let's get sat. If I'm selfish and a sathaya, 2 problems. At least let's solve 1 problem. Let's get to sat. Selfishly sat. Excellent progress. Then selflessly sat. Yay! Then we're doing really well. Okay. So I've covered all the main basic points. And I'm going to leave a little bit of time for people to ask questions, because I know this topic is a little bit more subtle. And what I said is not do this, do that. It's become an amazing person. Why do this and do that? Like, that's just very half-hearted. Change one little small thing about myself. No, we have to be 100% sat. Can't be it overnight, or can I? So y'all can type the questions to me if y'all want to, or y'all can unmute yourselves and ask. No. No one. I know the person who asked me to speak on this is on the call today, so I hope I've covered it. And if there's anything, please do ask. And Hong Kong is finally open. So in-person people, do you all have any questions? Something? Okay. Okay, then we'll conclude just for next week. There's a live interview happening here in the ashram because, as I mentioned, we open. And because of technical stuff, we won't have Zoom for next week. But from the week after that, we back on Zoom, and people are welcome to come to the ashram as well. And we'll be starting Mahabharata, which there's no other word to use. It's just epic. And there's so much beautiful messages. It's far more than a story, right? It's really the understanding of the different qualities within our mind and how they propel us into action. So it will be a lot of today's talk. A lot of today's talk will come into the Mahabharata. Okay, great. How do we stop being fearful to stop attracting it, as you had mentioned in the beginning. So when we have fear, we are protecting ourselves from a danger. And so there is a desire to be safe. And in today's emotionally sophisticated world, the dangers are emotional more than they are physical. Yeah. Not being liked, not being loved, not being accepted, being embarrassed, being humiliated, being insulted, being left out. Those are the things that we tend to fear. Even in a very intimate relationship, like spouses, what we'll fear is we'll be alone. If I don't, if I don't appease this person, they'll leave me and I'll be alone. Or even with a family member, if the person's a caretaker, like a parent or somebody that's has the earning capacity, then we feel if I don't appease this person, then I'll be left without any money on the road. So it can just be fear of insult, or it can be feeling I'll be abandoned, I'll be taken advantage of, I'll be. So what's the desire that I have that is being threatened? Fear in a relationship is desire to have something, and not getting that is being threatened. So in this situation, how to get rid of the fear is be willing, and I know it's a huge ask, even though I'm saying it very casually, be willing to feel that pain. So when Anandamayi Ma said no to her husband, she was willing to live on the streets. She did. She walked out of the house without money. He followed her, but she didn't know he was going to follow her. She walked. Now what happens? Anything could happen. How we know what's going to happen? Will I be hungry? Maybe. Will somebody else hurt me? Maybe. Whatever it is, be willing to deal with that pain. In this scenario, that's the way to overcome fear. In emotionally, in relationships where it's about emotions and fear is there, it's about, you're going to hurt me. That's why I'm scared. I'm only scared because you're going to hurt me. So be willing to be hurt. And even just me saying that will make so many of you scared. But when we willing, fear is not confirmed. It's not it's not a confirmed threat. Fear is a possibility of this danger happening to me. And so I let the possibility determine my life. And I'm willing to deal with the pain. The pain may or may not come. But when I'm willing to deal with it, there's 100% progress. So, yeah. A lot of our fear is of pain that never actually happens. And, you know, the interesting thing about it is when we fear pain, we actually make it happen. And so we have to deal with it anyways, because we make it happen. So might as well be willing to deal with it and not have the fear. And then when it happens, there's the strength to deal with it. When we fear the pain and it happens, which more often than not it does, we don't have as much strength. We will go through it. But when I'm willing to deal with the pain, and I'm so much stronger when I have to deal with it. And so I come back to desire. What we're desiring is not to have pain, but we're also desiring strength and conquering of our weakness or of our obstacles. But I can't have both. I can't have the desire of no pain plus overcome obstacle. They conflict each other. So strengthen desire of overcome obstacle, let go of desire of no pain. I'll deal with the pain. I'll overcome the obstacle. Yeah, none of us escape pain. None of us escape pain. It's the thing that makes us grow. And I would go as far as to say it's the thing that reminds us we're alive. And what we are alive for. And so there's no way we're going to escape it. We'd stagnate and we'd lose the joy of love and life. So it's really a futile task trying to escape pain. And we do it in sports all the time, right? Embrace the pain. Good burn. You feel a nice burn in your thighs. Yeah. How to listen? Sorry, could you elaborate on this question? What are we listening to? You can just type it out, or you can unmute and you can tell me. Isn't preparing oneself for the consequence to stand up? Isn't preparing oneself for the consequences of standing up for one's belief? Again, I don't understand.
I didn't have my glasses, so I'll say I've unmuted myself and I'm saying it. Maybe, at least what I find is that very often one is scared because one is scared of the consequences of that thing. So it's of the imminent danger to oneself, of standing up for that belief. So I think, isn't it maybe what the harder part is preparing oneself for the consequences of saying no or in a situation.
Yeah.
It's kind of duality, isn't it? One doesn't know which is harder. It goes parallel. You have to prepare yourself for the consequences because one believes in it. So the journey seems, how do you say, more arduous. It's easier just to say yes.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Am I making sense?
The desire. It's too much work to stand up sometimes. Am I getting you right? So it's,
That's right. So my question is,
I
what
don't,
comes
I don't,
first? How do you prepare yourself for the consequences, or do you sort of, the belief leads the consequence, dealing with the consequences, or is it the other way around? Maybe that's what I need a little clarity on.
so I would go back to Dharmaya. So if we use Anandamayi Ma's example of husband hitting, it's not Dharma. And so the husband hitting is not Dharma. Wife letting him hit is also not Dharma. And so the one I work towards is to have the strength to say no, even though I get what you're saying, it can be so exhausting. And already you feel very, very disempowered because, you know, in her case, it was physical, but, you know, so often we emotionally told so many things, and it really drains us. But Dharma will give me the strength when I remember what is Dharma, and Dharma is that which holds together. And so I'm not doing it just for me, I'm doing it for every woman, every man that will ever be in this situation. I strengthen myself to be able to deal with pain, to be peacefully strong enough to overcome the other person's need to control me. Because in this particular example, right, they want to control me and I'm letting them control me. But wanting that we live Dharma rather than his or her desire and my desire also. It's holding everything together. The society can't be held together if certain people are oppressing others. And so my small little resolve to be able to overcome my fear helps me live my Dharma, which contributes to the bigger Dharma, which will then help so many more, whether I go public with it or not.
Thank you. That really does explain it really very well. Bless you.
Okay. About the listening one, listening to others without judging the others, putting into categories of good or bad. I spoke about listening today, not really. Listening is a huge topic. So how to listen? So the easiest answer, because I'm not quite sure also what you're saying here and in what regards to, the easiest and simplest answer I can give you is with love in our hearts. When we're listening to another person, to listen with love in our hearts. And when we listen with love, there might be judgments, but the judgments are not harsh or insulting, right? It will be judgments of trying to understand. So when we're listening, trying to understand, even then it might, so in the purest sense of listening, I shouldn't be thinking anything, I should just be listening. But sometimes we need to be able to follow the train of thought. And so little bit reasoning and understanding is going on in our heads. And so maybe you mean this in terms of conflict. So you and I are fighting and then how to listen to you. So the first thing to do is put away my agenda, which is my desire, which is not so easy to put away. But when listening to you, I have to put away my desire. My desire will be to tell you all the things I think. And my desire will be, to get you to understand where I'm coming from, or to get you to do what I want you to do, which would be even worse than just seeing my point of view. So all those desires, to put on pause and just listen with love in our heart, would be the simplest, most generic way in which I can answer this question. And sorry if it's not specific enough to what you need it to be. Okay. Any other? Welcome. Yeah.
So you mentioned that we have certain beliefs, and then we have the things that we want to believe.
We want to believe things. Yeah. So they are desire. Yeah.
And then how do we change our belief system to align with what we want?
How do we change a belief system is a beautiful question. And it's an incredibly easy answer verbally, which translates to quite a significant change in our thought structure. So basically, when you find the belief, it's a thought. That's all the belief is. One thought, which you have thoughted 1,000,000 times. But it's just one thought. And so the way to change a belief is the way to change any other thought. Delete, replace, negate, substitute. And so what do I substitute it with? Usually something I learn in satsang would be ideal. If not, Google. There's so much spirituality on Google. Worthwhile ways to think, empowered ways of thinking. But we have the benefit of our scriptures, which are so deep and so profound. So substitute with something that the Gita says, something that Upanishad says. Yeah. Is fear just a thought? Is fear just a thought? Yes. Fear is just a thought, but it's many thoughts thoughted very quickly. And it's a repetition of, I'm going to die. That's basically the thought. On repeat very quickly in a very short period of time, which then, sorry, I have to add, our physiology changes. When we have fear, when we have anger, when we have immense grief, just sad, not so much, but immense grief, our physiology changes. And when our physiology changes, then we need to change thought, but we also need to change body because physiology has changed. And so with something like fear, because it's flight or flight, go for a run. Or literally they do that shaking exercise because that's what you would have done in jungle. Not that any of us have ever lived in jungle, which would have switched off fear. Because body physiology changes, you have to get it out of the body. But yes, it's a thought. So if fear happens before physiology changes, you can change it at the level of thought. So the first thought of, I'm going to die. And then you think, wait a minute, of course I'm not. Fear's gone. Belief is also a thought, but please remember it's grown roots because we've thought it so many times. So we have to pluck from the roots, otherwise it grows back. Okay, great. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit kapag bhave, asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi. So for all the Zoom people, I'll see you all in a fortnight. For Hong Kong residents, you're welcome to Ashram next week on an interview on reincarnation.
Swami, may I ask who this interview is with?
It's just one of our members who had a lot of questions and they wanted to record it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Carry on.